Wonderful talking day here at Rotary. Love it. Okay, can we begin by saying our motto?
Servant.
And we can say our allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, and Jim just walked in perfectly. May we have a moment of silence?
We all please join me in prayer. As I say, bless this food to our use and us to thy service. Amen.
Chip, today's song.
Well, beautiful sunny day. I think we ought to turn to page 21 and sing When You're Smiling.
Whoa. Ready?
When you're smiling, keep on smiling. The whole world smiles with you. When you're laughing,
Ho, ho, ho.
the sun comes shining through. But when you're crying, you're the rain on the rain, so stop your sighing. Be happy again, keep on smiling, 'cause when you're smiling, the whole world smiles with you.
Okay, now, do we have any Rotarian visitors?
That guy with the white hair.
We also have today. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, I love the camaraderie we have. We'll continue with after the meeting. We have our speaker today, who's speaking in a few minutes, and this is Jack Thornton, who is a Commonwealth attorney. Here with us today. All right. Do we have any announcements? Any activities? Was that up to me? Were you waiting?
It wasn't time.
Semi.
Yeah, picking up trash. And thank you everybody who's paying to pick up the trash. It was a good job.
All right. Great job. Great job. Any other activities going on here in the future? Any other announcements?
Oh, yes. I have an announcement. I have a little bit of good news about, not much book review, but the reading. First of all, thank you to the 8 roughly people who are signed up for Thursday's training class. That will give us a total of roughly 16 volunteers. And we hope to begin putting them to work this Friday, maybe the following. I have a walkthrough tomorrow at Chippewa, and I'll know exactly then. They have invited us on Fridays, and we have a schedule that begins at 8:30, and it will end around 10:30 or a little bit earlier, depending on how many classes we reach in. The one individual, because there are 5 classes, and so the 2 volunteers show up at 8:30. They may well have different books to read the different classes. They will have half an hour to just to take a look at the books, make some notes, and then at 9 o'clock they will read to the 2nd grade, I believe. We start with the 2nd grade. And then, we start with kindergarten. And anyway, that goes for a half hour. Then we'll change classes. Both the volunteers will go to 2nd grade classes and read. And then one of them will be done, because there's only one remaining class of the 5. So, taking, I'm taking stage direction from Bill Payne. So, and then one person will lead to a first grade class. So, it's 2 people per week. We've got more than enough volunteers, which is really good. I am hopeful that we will prove our value to the teachers and prove that they can leave us with at least a group of students for a while they go on and teach others in some other way. And I'm also hopeful that when that happens, other teachers are going to hear about that we're worthwhile having in the classroom, and we'll get more teachers, more classes, more days. So I think it'll expand, and I hope it'll expand in history. Also, because we have so many volunteers, we can now take a look at Akahana. And I think we need to let G2P percolate for a little bit, make sure we get the pattern down and everyone's comfortable. And Susan Camden is already planning to put out feelers at Akahana and see how many teachers might be interested if that's a thing. So thank you for everyone who's taken or signed up for the classes. Thank you to everyone else for just sort of supporting this and keeping the club going along with it and up and running. Any questions? All right. And it's time to turn the show back to Dr. Benny.
We're just having a school reading to children. It really fills my heart, because when children are read to when they're young, that is what encourages, stimulates their mind, and lets them know, number one, they have a mind, and that I'll be back in a second, and encourage them to read throughout their lives. A lot of kids go into sports because the only thing that stimulates them physically, they don't have any mental stimulation. And they've done studies, and children who are read to will read for the rest of their lives. And so we need to do this. Thank you to everyone who's doing it. Dora's not here yet, but everybody who signed up, and I'm going to be in a new class. It just, even if they act bored, they're not. Just remember that. And then if they are acting bored, interactive.
I totally forgot. I need to ask for a volunteer for someone to start reading Friday. If we start, more stage direction. If we start on Friday, is there anyone volunteer? It has to have to be from among the 8 who attended the first class and finished all the paperwork and the training. Is there anyone who would be able to join? Raise your hand. Starting the following week.
I don't know about I'd like to, but I'm not sure about Friday morning.
Okay.
I'll get back to you.
Great. Walkthroughs tomorrow, and that's when we'll commit. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right. Reading stimulates brains. Thank you all. Hey, any other announcements or anything? Got your own? No. Okay, good chit chatting. Never mind. Okay, now we have Happy Dollars, anybody? All right.
I just want to reintroduce myself for those who don't remember me. I did spend 2 weeks in Panama. I would like to say I'm happy to be back. I'm not really had a great trip. But I'm doubly happy today because I walked in and I see the only person I ever mentored as a lawyer. Amazingly, they didn't take my license away and they gave him one to skip it all these years. That worked for me when he first got his law license. And despite that, he's done rather well. So he left me at a good time, and he's here, and I like him, and he's a good guy. and we give each other crap all the time, as you might expect. So, welcome, and it's $50. Have a minute.
Yay!
And I'm sorry, were you introduced?
Well,
Before you came.
Oh, you got it.
we're here on time.
Any other announcements? Oh, happy now. Any other announcements?
I don't even.
I know you don't. I know you don't.
Yeah, 5 happy now, just to be happy to be back with Case Charles. For the past month, we've been up back and forth to New York a couple of times. But we're back.
All right. Welcome home. How happy are you being? How much? $5.
This is the occasion you only celebrate once a year, and it's not Christmas. But this Friday, I'm going to kick off another year. To the tune of $20.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bill. Happy birthday to you.
Any other happy dollars? This is a good happy dollar today. All right, then next, Queen of Hearts. Who has what? And these two cards over here belong to Paul Strong. Okay, Queen of Spades. No?
What was that statement you made?
All right, so Ace of Hearts, okay? Then.
That's a heart. You got a winner.
Okay, you can you can pick any card, you can take them back, you shuffle them yourself, wherever you're.
David also had blackjack today.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a 10 of spades.
Okay,
So close.
Queen of Hearts.
Oh, yep, there.
Still get $10.
You still get $10 then from the, and,
We had $38 today.
all right, $38 today.
3, 4, 5.
So,
I think that's 10.
$10 then. And how much is it?
We had $38 today, so the Rotary at our club gets 19 bats, and they get 10 of it. 9 goes.
What's the pot?
Now. Today. And $9 to last time, so that's $250.
$250.
$250.
Welcome to the Powerball Rotary.
Okay. All right, we're getting there.
It's time for somebody to draw the queen.
The queen is for real.
Oh, that's yours.
Finally, oh, but it's in there. The queen is for real. We showed it last week. And now we have, give the floor to our guest speaker today, Jack Thornton, who is our Commonwealth attorney. And Jack, welcome to Rotary of Cape Charles.
Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect. So I need to use this, right?
Yes, you do.
I will say it's kind of an ongoing thing for myself and the deputies in the courtroom, because they always want to give me a microphone. I can't stand it. But I'll do this for you.
You're soft spoken.
I try. Yeah, okay. So, again, my name is Jack Thornton. I am the Commonwealth Attorney for Northampton County. I've been the Commonwealth Attorney since 2023. Bev Leatherberry, I don't know if y'all remember her. She actually today's her birthday. But she retired. I tricked her into hiring me in 2018, and she kept me around. And she retired in 2023, and I took over from there. We have a 4-year term, so I come up for re-election. We have to be elected every 4 years. So my next time at that is next year, 2027. A little bit about me, just briefly. I was born and raised in Virginia Beach. Met a girl over here. That's how I wound up over here. But in the meantime, I went to Virginia Military Institute, graduated in 2000, and took a year off in commercial fishing for a year, and then went back to law school. I graduated in 2004 from P.C. Williams at the University of Richmond Law School. And then I said, well, I wasn't tied down. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, and was still kind of wild. So I said, well, I went and got my captain's license and 100-ton license, and I said, well, which is more fun, running boats for a living or sitting in the office and being a lawyer? I said, well, I'm gonna go run boats. So that's what I did from about 2004 to 2006 or so. Ran boats, ran a party boat down at Virginia Beach, taking people out sea bass fishing. Ran a 110-foot supply vessel down in Louisiana for a brief period of time, expand that. And then I ran a boat, launch boat, taking people and supplies out of ships for a couple of years out of Virginia Beach as well. Then, I met a young lady who's a native of the shore, and her name is Lynn, and the rest is history. I wound up getting married to her, but it's amazing what will happen when you find a person that you like in a certain spot. So that was in 2006. I wound up moving over here in 2007, buckled down, passed the bar, and as he stated previously, somehow I tricked him into hiring me. It was funny, I'll say. I was going around, I was trying to find a job. I was going around different lawyers, and I went into Bert Turner's office. Steela's wife was working for Bert at the time, and she was kind enough to sit down and talk with me for a while. And then I went home, back to Virginia Beach, and actually was outside cutting wood or something like that, and this guy calls me, and he invites me up to interview with him. I didn't know what I was getting into at the time, neither did he. But for some reason, he wound up hiring me, and we had the Two Knuckleheads law firm. And it was funny because he was a later in life lawyer, and I, of course, had just passed my bar, so neither one of us knew what the hell we were doing. But he would look at me for support because he hired me, and I was supposed to be there. And we're sitting there, and I'll tell a story. We had a deposition going on, and the opposing attorney, who had been, he was very experienced. He said, "Now this is going to be a deposition." He says, "This is going to be a defending essay deposition," which a defending essay. Now I know this now. It's basically used in place of court testimony. Well, John looked at me. Like, what do you mean? I looked at John, and I was like, what do you mean? And we both said, yeah, that's it. So, and afterwards, it was kind of like, where the hell were you on that one, Slick? But like I say, we made it through there, and John, I learned a lot there. He put up with a lot of my crap, I gotta say, and I'm very, I don't say it enough, but I'm very thankful for the for the chance that John took on me. Because I think, if he didn't give me that chance, I don't know what I would have done. Because all I wanted to do was be over here with my girlfriend, and there wasn't a whole lot going on, other than the law business, for some other thing. So that's a little bit of my background. As far as, I don't know, how many people are native to Virginia in here? Okay. Wow.
Me?
Good question.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. At one point it was part of Virginia, you know. Okay, so the way we, my job is the Commonwealth Attorney. In other states, we're referred to as district attorney. And it's just for whatever reason we need to be different here. There's a couple other states that call them Commonwealth attorneys. I think Kentucky does, Massachusetts does, but for the most part, other states call us district attorneys. Again, we are elected. We are the chief, basically the chief law enforcement officer in the county or in the jurisdiction. Each county and or independent city has an elected Commonwealth attorney. I'm the Commonwealth attorney for Northampton. Spencer Morgan, I don't know if y'all know him or not. He is the Accomack County Commonwealth attorney. Virginia Beach has one. Colin Solid, and then Ramin Fadahi, every jurisdiction. And we are all, there's about 120 of us, and we're all as different as you can shake a stick at. It's every walk of life, every political persuasion, and we try to come together though and do what we think is right. There is, when I first started prosecuting, there's a pamphlet that says, "Do what's right every time." And a lot of times, recently in the past 7 or 8 years or so, there has been a lot of backlash against law enforcement, and as far as the politics of it and all of that. And I will tell you that here in Northampton County, at least, all of the law enforcement that I come into contact with, I'm confident in saying, if they are not of the highest ethical background, they don't last long. People law enforcement, police officers, sheriffs that I work with are absolutely good people and they want to do what's right. I was explaining to somebody a few minutes ago, even the most fresh junior assistant prosecutor has an incredible amount of power to really screw somebody's life. I mean, anytime that you levy a charge against someone, and especially depending on the different kinds of crimes, it's a big deal, especially if you're talking about felonies and all that. And even if they're later acquitted, that kind of stigma, especially in a small town like this, will stick with a person. So it's very important that before we bring a charge, before we take something to the grand jury or what have you, we're looking at it. The people in my office, actually, all of us go over the indictments before we have a grand jury, and I'll explain all that in a minute. But again, the key is, are we confident that there's good reason to bring this charge? Because it is such a big deal. Now, the way it works in Virginia is there's a couple different ways that you can get charged with a crime. First, the most common way is you go out and rob a bank. Somebody sees you rob a bank, you're arrested, warrants are obtained, and you're held in jail. And then what happens then? The warrants are obtained. You have a preliminary hearing. And that's basically another screening process. The law enforcement officer goes before the magistrate. They ask for probable cause before they issue the warrant. If the magistrate is satisfied with probable cause, to issue the warrant. They issue the warrant, person is arrested, and then they have a preliminary hearing, which is another screening process, this time before a judge, where the defendant has defense counsel, and I present evidence, or my office presents evidence, to show probable cause that something happened and that this person was likely involved. Assuming I meet that burden, it is then sent up to the grand jury, which I know some of you have served on the grand jury. And basically what that is yet another screening process where citizens from the community hear evidence from the law enforcement officer to see whether or not, again, they feel there's probable cause to go forward to trial. So here we've had 3 or 4, and that's not mentioning whatever, I look at or my office looks at as far as our determination. That's 3 different levels of scrutiny as far as probable cause. Can we go forward ethically on it before we even get to trial? And then once the trial comes, of course, that's a whole other thing in and of itself. That is where we're actually trying to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the person's guilt. So by the time he gets there, we're usually pretty sure that something happened and that this person was involved. The other way that it can happen is what they call direct indictment. And direct indictment is basically it skips the warrant. A lot of your financial crimes and things like that, where it's not a violent person that we really got to get off the street, right now. Embezzlement cases, things like that, will be done by direct indictment, where there's a lot of paperwork done. The investigator has done a lot of investigation, and basically we just bypass the warrant part, bring it directly to the grand jury, and the grand jury then issue the indictment, or they don't. And I will tell you, there's kind of a joke. Well, you can indict a ham sandwich. That's not true. Not true. I've had twice where, at least twice, where the grand jury has said, no, we don't think you got enough, Mr. Ball. We don't think you got enough. And okay, that's the way it is. And that's our system of law. Like anything else. If I'm always winning, something's wrong. I mean, this is true. People ask me, well, what do you think about, the judge's ruling? Well, I didn't agree with it, but, that's the judge. And that's the law and that's the rule. And again, if everybody is agreeing with me all the time, God help us. I tell my wife that all the time. If everybody thought the same way I did, you'd all be screwed. Those of you who know me will agree with that. But at the end of the day, it's all about doing what's right. And for that particular case, and for that particular time, and nowhere is my office handles misdemeanors, felonies, and juvenile matters. So we have 3 different courts in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We have the Juvenile Domestic Relations Court, the General District Court, which tries lower cases, and then the Circuit Court, which is what they call the Court of General Jurisdiction, where you have, that's where the murders are tried, and so on and so forth. So I've tried everything from murders, awful, and to truancy cases, where kids are not going to school. And that kind of leads me into another thing, another kind of topic here, when y'all were talking about the reading to these kids at school. I think that's awesome. I think it's great. I have a very good relationship with Dr. Martin, who's the superintendent of the school. And we are aggressive in trying to get kids to stay in school. In fact, I think in the past year or so, it's gone, the level of absenteeism has gone way down. Kids are going back to school. Why? Well, one reason is we're bringing them into court, doing what we call a CHIMS petition, child in need of supervision, for not going to school. And we're saying, okay, court, you know, we're asking you to impose rules on this child. If they don't go to school, they're going to go to detention or something like that. And realizing that, especially in the younger children, less than 13 years of age, it's even more incumbent upon parents to make sure that their kids go to school. If their children are not going to school, and I'm talking about chronic absenteeism, 20 absentee, they had 20 days absence, we will bring them in and charge the parents with contributing to the pregnancy of a minor. And you'd be surprised how quickly that gets kids back in school. And the reason why we are so aggressive about that is, it's good for the children, but I've been doing this long enough now to see kids that start off as drills. I've seen them where my first interaction with them was for a truancy thing. They did go to school. And they wound up going later on, graduating prison for shooting at somebody. And it's just, if you can kind of start there, and hopefully stop the progression of violence or whatever we want to call it. We can start there when they're younger, making them go to school. I think it'll be a big difference. And that's, I hate it. Again, I've been here long enough, and I've known teachers that had some of my kids when they were kindergarten, and they'll say, "Yep, Jack, I'm sorry to see that I will have convicted them of breaking and entering or something like that, and had it gone up." Sure. It really does. It breaks the heart. So the more that we can engage with the school system, and the more that we can reach out to these kids and their parents, the better. Kelvin Jones is the minister, their chaplain for the sheriff's department. He's also the reverend at the First Baptist Church down there. He has a lot of programs where he reaches out to kids that have gotten into trouble and kind of steps them down. Said, look, you don't have to go down this path. Stop and think. Stop and think about it. And that's a really good thing. We're actually going to try and get and do a joint kind of assembly or something along those lines in the school system for all ages, geared towards different ages, but regarding the use of cell phones, texting, things like that. Because the problem is, and I will tell you, I actually wrote a piece in the paper for it about a year ago. These young kids, they'll send pictures of themselves or whatever, nude, and they just send it out there, and they think that they're sending it to their girlfriend or their boyfriend or whatever, and they are, but they're also putting it out there in the cyber world or what have you. And 99.9% of the time, little Johnny and Jane are going to break up, and then one of them is going to send that picture out again and disseminate it around, and it's out there. And it's not just about being embarrassed. Human trafficking is where that comes in. And now you have bad dudes out there, wherever they are, all over the world, saying, okay, I have this picture of you, I'm going to disseminate this further unless you meet me here, or unless you do something that's exploiting these kids of all ages. So it's very important that it's not about just being a prude and all that sort of thing. It's about understanding the gravity of the situation when you start using phones and the internet to do these sorts of things. It's not like taking a Polaroid and giving it to your girlfriend where you can tear it up. It's out there. And it's very important, hoping to get the public and to understand this about the cell phones and the dangers that come with it. But at any rate, just kind of wrapping up here, got some kind of crazy cases going on. We have one, I don't know, y'all maybe have heard about it, the lady claiming all sorts of properties in her name, or in the name of some Indian tribe that she God was good. That was an interesting case. That's actually she has been found guilty. That was by a jury a couple of weeks ago. But I never thought I would have a case like that. Where it would be, I mean, looking up ancient patent law and, all that sort of stuff, have that right alongside of a brutal murder, a robbery gone bad, where a young man was shot and killed, and a baby, death of a baby. And I will tell you that, I'll kind of wind up on this. Anybody who knows me, I've had, a bout with, depression in my life. No doubt about it. And it's something very real. People, especially people in my line of work in law enforcement, not just us, but it's what I know about. And it's very important. I learned, from my experience. At the end of the day, you got to look out for yourself. And it's not, and mental health is it's a very big deal, very important subject. It intersects with criminal law so much, and I'm hopeful that in the future, and it is shaping up that way, but I'm hopeful in the future that we can kind of destigmatize it more and provide more education to law enforcement and to people in general regarding mental health, seeking help for it, not trying to cover it up, and all that sort of thing. Because, like I say, you sit down, for me, I sit down and I look at some autopsy photos, and they're awful. I would say this, crime scene photos, they are what they are. I mean, it's brutal and everything else, but the autopsy photos is what always gets me. And I'll have to kind of just set it aside and go for a walk, because you got to realize what's going on inside. Like I told my wife, I said, if I'm not decent myself, I'm no damn good to anybody. So that's at the end of the day, that's what I try to impart to law enforcement officers as well as any attorney. Somewhere along the line, I became the old guy, and they all come in and ask me for advice. Wise man. But if any of you saw my office, y'all would run the other way. It looks like a tornado came through there, but I know where everything is. So, anyway, does anybody have any questions for me or what my job is? Yes.
I have a comment.
Okay.
So you did such a wonderful job on the Jane McKinley. And I was there for the entire trial and for the sentencing. That was such a difficult case. It was so emotional. You were wonderful. Your office was wonderful. I mean, I want to give you a lot of credit for that. And then second, how much sex trafficking is on 13?
That's a good question. I don't know. When you say sex trafficking, and that can mean a lot of different things. By its very nature, it's clandestine, obviously. And it's something, though, that has come more into our focus in the past 5 years or so. We've started to kind of really look at it more. The migrant population that we have, that adds to it. Again, the communications between people on cell phone, electronic media, and so on and so forth. I have I mean, I had a case, recently involving a 16-year-old that was lured down here, from Philadelphia, north, and, wound up having, there's something that went on in Virginia Beach, and then they came over here, and it was really weird. A lot of these social media apps, that you have, again, the vulnerable people, these young, I say young, it's mostly young women, but it can be young men as well, that they just, for whatever reason, they're vulnerable, they don't, whatever, they have a bad home life, or whatever it is, and they're vulnerable to hopping on the bus, and, you have somebody that will pay for them to a bus ride down here, or something along those lines. And on the flip side of that, you have, I had a case, where we had indicted a gentleman, and, for, a sex crime, and, it was very convincing, and the lady went to a forensic interview at CHKD and everything else, and as it went on and went on, it kept more and more, investigation, it became evident that she had no credibility whatsoever. And I don't say that lightly. And I don't know, nobody knows, because again, by its very nature, sexual assault is clandestine and all of that. But there was no way, I caught her in several lies. And so there was no way that I could ethically continue that charge against that gentleman. And so I had to null prospect. And so I tell people all the time, my client is the law and it's society as a whole. I don't have a particular client. I have just as much duty to the defendant as I have to the victim. Because my job is to search for truth, and I'm not a defense attorney. I'm a government attorney. And when we start talking about taking people's liberty, the legislature outlawed taking life anymore, but when we talk about taking their treasure and their liberty, it's imperative that the government is beyond reproach, like Cedar's wife, and that's why it's such an important thing. And I appreciate the chance that you all give me to work in this field every day. Again, to me, when I was working in private practice, it was a job like anything else. I learned a lot of stuff. Bird taught me what not to do, things like that. But really, that prosecutor is a calling. I love it. So is there any question?
What trends do you see in local crime? Gangs, for instance.
So gangs, there are a couple of gangs that we're watching. There has been an uptick. One of the more concerning things is the youth of some of these kids in some of these gangs. And I'll tell you, even the older gang, we call them old gangs. They're like, you can't do anything with the kid. They're reckless. And so, it's really, it has come about more so in Acton, I would say, they have a bigger problem. But we are seeing it down here. As a result, the Sheriff's Department has begun what they call it CSU, Crime Suppression Unit. And that's pretty much what they do. They look at gangs, they look at drugging and trafficking. It all goes hand in hand because the gang needs to make money. So there's about 4 guys in there, and that's pretty much what they do. And so hopefully, between that and it's really tough. Talk about smartphones. One of the things that we'll do, everything is on your smartphone. You wouldn't believe, you don't know anybody until you go through somebody's swear to God. And, I mean, I remember the first time we get a search warrant, it gets downloaded, we go through it. And I remember going through, the first one I went through was like a drug dealer or something like that. It was very eye-opening. But by doing that, you know, it's all about intelligence. Trying to get intelligence and trying to, you know, one of the things that we use, frankly, and it is a good deterrent, is to, you know, try to, I don't mind using a harsh criticism. You know, some people that, you know, there's a political discourse back and forth about, you know, prison, restorative justice and all that, and I think they're all valid points. At the end of the day, certain defendants, you get them off the street, you're doing society a favor. And now that doesn't go for all of them. Every case is different. But I think it is important to give the prosecution, law enforcement, some good tools to be able to work with. Again, you know, that doesn't mean that we always, I tell people all the time, if you go golfing, you always got to have your sand wedge. You hope you never have to use it. Because if you do, you're in the trap. But if you're in the trap, you're glad you have it. And so that's kind of my little piece about law enforcement. And, you know, one other thing, I don't know if y'all have heard about flock cameras. I don't know about flock cameras. So there's a big thing about, you know, flock cameras basically are cameras that are set up around here, and they catch license plate numbers as they're going by. And the way it happened, I want to dispel a few myths about it. We don't just sit there and look at license plate numbers. It has to be a reason to look it up. And, you know, all it does is say, okay, if your house got broken into and your next door neighbor was going to say, I saw a red car go by. What that does is that allows, okay, breaking and entering, red sedan. They can type it in there and then it brings it up. And they'll go through and, you know, and you print off some photos and say, okay, well, this is the one you saw. And that's just a tool to try to identify who was there. And my turnout, you know, that license or that vehicle is registered to somebody else, but somebody else is driving. You know, it's just another tool in the bag. And I will say, you know, there has, being on the legal side of this, you know, some opponents of flock systems say, well, it's an invasion of privacy. My answer to that is, it's a license plate. It's property of the government. It's the sole purpose is to identify vehicles, and that's all it does. That's all it does. So you know, the flock cameras are a huge asset to our law enforcement. We have solved crimes, violent crimes, gang crimes, because we've been able to identify when and where certain vehicles were and so on. So
I have a question.
yes.
Are there any on 13?
I'm sorry?
Any flock cameras on 13?
I think there are. I don't really know exactly where they are, I'll be honest with you. I know there's some on Seaside, there's a bunch of them around. But they don't measure speed. They don't measure speed. But I will say this. For all those people who say, well, they only targeted me because I was out of state or whatever, I got a speeding ticket about 5 years ago. And I was the deputy Commonwealth attorney. And the state trooper pulled me over. I didn't tell him who it was. He was brand new. And he says, he was very, very professional. I said, okay. And a little bit later, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he says, I was going to say, he called me about 3:30 in the afternoon. He said, I didn't know who you were. I said, it doesn't matter. I was, you know, guilty or I was speeding. So I will say that they don't care who you are. They'll give you a ticket. And so that's why I drive like grandma now. And put it on 55 and go. And which is a big difference because I used to go about 800 miles an hour. Anyway, does anybody have any other questions? Sir?
Ready to go back working boats?
You know what? When days, like beautiful days, I look out and I say, God, that was so much fun. But then I go back to some of my picture albums. Oh, it was cold. I didn't catch much that day, and, or what have you. So, actually, I was fortunate enough last year I was able to buy a pleasure boat, so I go out and do that. Anyway else? All right, I will say this is the second Rotary group that I've talked to, and y'all are way more lively. No comment. Thank you all so much.
If there are any more questions,
My office is in Eastville, you can always call
we have a thank you note for being here. We had to get it. That's about your time. This is a thank you note, a cup from Rotary of Cape Charles.
me. Thank you.
And this was really enjoyable and informative.
Likewise,
All right.
It was very nice. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for coming. Okay, are there any other discussion, questions, opinions? If not, we will stand and say before we moderate. Is it friendship? Stand?
Will we have fun?
Yeah. Thank y'all for coming to the excellent. Now you can go back to socialization.